Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to Spiritual Freak Show, and I am Angel Face, aka Grace Lannon. And I am here with Lauren Unger, who it's been a running joke on the podcast that you come up on like every episode because I've met so many of our guests and different people that I've met that I've interviewed. I've met through different classes I've taken with you. So it's you always come up, but here you are here with us now. So if anyone doesn't know you, I'll just have you kind of briefly introduce yourself, who you are, where you're located, and anything you want to share.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It means so much to me. The community.
It's like it's funny. It's literally like every other episode. I'm like this. I met this girl too, Lauren.
And of course, dropping in with you, like, right, as always, I'm in my most authentic self, but you're like, introduce yourself. I'm like, hi, my name is what? My name is who?
Well, it's like
Like,
a big question to sum yourself up into like a few sentences.
right. And like, of course, like the mediumship was like already flowing as soon as you pressed record. Hi, I'm Lauren, known on the social medias and the world as Lauren Courtney. I am a spiritual advisor and energy healer and a teacher of multiple modalities. Most recently, I am a certified Kundalini yoga teacher. For the last 8 years, I've been very much a Karuna Reiki sound healer practitioner, as well as deep body work and studying the organs and meridians and helping people really return to their authentic selves and find the guru within them.
Yes, yeah. And last time we had you on the podcast, we were Angel Face Magic Hour. We recently changed the name of our show, so a lot of people have already connected with you through listening to the podcast if they are, longtime listeners. But otherwise, you guys can find Lauren. We'll link all your information. But yeah, I met you, I think in 2018, something like that. Maybe,
Wild.
I don't even know, 2017, 2018, something around there, but I did my Reiki, my Holy Fire Reiki training with you amongst many other classes. And I'm in the class with you right now, though it's like a year-long program. So I see you all the time. We meet every week. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of have talk a little bit about that journey with you because it's been a long, a long one. And I feel like I've been able to kind of shed different layers of myself and connect with you in different ways. And I see myself a lot in you and like what you share and talk about is always like what I'm thinking about. We're on the same wavelength. So for those who are like seeking a teacher, it's like random how you find them. I just found you through literally Instagram. Like that's where I find a lot of people. But I think the first thing I did was you were offering sound healings and you had these sound healing recordings. So I bought the recordings and, you just listen to them on your own. But I had already taken Reiki, the Usui traditional Reiki, which is Reiki that originates from Japan. Holy Fire is like a whole nother lineage, but it is all based on the same thing. Um, but for some reason, that sound healing stuff opened a lot up for me. I mean, I'm not surprised, but when you are just like, let me download these meditations or whatever, you don't always have a transformative life experience. But that was the case for me. So then I started working with you one-on-one, and I think that was, I don't know, like
It was at
a
20.
big catalyst for me.
Yeah, it was definitely 2018 because it was I was recording when I moved to Miami. That's when I started really getting into sound healing, and I feel like it was a big catalyst even for me in my career and my personal and professional life to start putting myself out in that way. So it's so like, oh my God, coming back to that. Like it feels so full circle to be able to come back to even thinking. And I still have all my sound healings available in my online store. I don't promote them as much anymore. They just kind of like live on my website. And when I see people purchase them, I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, it's so exciting. They're starting their journey because I feel like it is such a like a place to start. And I love that you and so many others have had like real deeply been really deeply affected by the healings, that it brought you to want to work with me and do so many things.
Yeah, it's like, I think the sound is really transformative. but I think it's also the infusion of that energy healing into it. You know, the sound itself is healing, but then adding the Reiki, it creates a whole nother level. But I think for me finding the Holy Fire Reiki, I wouldn't say, I don't never want to say it's better than anything else, but for me, it felt like a stronger physical experience and it made it easier for me to work with more people and hold that energy. I felt like with the Usui, and maybe it's also because I was newer to it and now I've been doing it for a long time, but it felt more physically draining. I don't know if you had experiences like that, but
Yeah, I did my
it
one
opened a
and
lot.
two in Asui first, and then I was guided to move out to California. And my second day living in LA, I was supposed to go to a boxing workout with like the one friend I had made there, and she called me and was like, "I have to cancel. I'm gonna be at work late." And I still didn't have furniture in my apartment. And I was like, "I can't just sit here." So I went on ClassPass, like the early days of ClassPass, and was like, what's around here? What can I do? And I saw this thing pop up that said Aroma Reiki. And I was like, well, I don't really want to do anything. So like, that's perfect. And I didn't know anyone in LA that gave Reiki. Like I only knew my friend in New York who had just talked into doing a Sui with me. So I went to this Aroma Reiki class and I walked into the room and was like, what the fuck is this? I need this. This is different than what I was taught. And I went to the teacher after class and she was like, it's a different energy. It's newer. It's called Holy Fire. So I did Holy Fire back when it was like Holy Fire 2. Now it's like Holy Fire like
Ugh,
4
it's
or
the
5.
titles are so long. It's like
Yeah,
the
the titles are
30.
so long. It's absolutely
Holy
ridiculous.
Fire 3 Karuna Reiki
Yeah.
Master.
So I as soon as I felt it in the room, it was so palpable, the energy, and like it was tangible. Like it was like I could touch it.
Physical.
It felt so different. And I did my master about a month later and it blew the hinges off of every door that I had like closed within myself. Like, you're a medium, you were a shaman, you're a healer, and all these things started to reveal itself to me. And I was like, oh, okay, we just opened a can of worms and I can't put the lid back on.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very physical experience. And I think that if people are interested, you know, in learning a different lineage, it's not like that takes away your history and the information you studied before, but it's like the intention with it is that it is this Reiki that's for this more modern time. And when it came forward, it wasn't even that long ago. Um,
That
it's
was like
evolved 2014 or 20
20.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, 24. Yeah, I think 2014,
That's
somewhere
like
around
10
there.
years ago.
Yeah. And
That's
like
not that long ago.
it was so new when I found it because I found it in 2017, right at the beginning of 2017. I was like, what is this? I need this. And I just knew in my heart that I was supposed to spread it like holy fire. Like it was like, spread this, share it with everyone that wants to know it, put it out into the world. And it's crazy. I've trained like over 100 people probably in all this time. And I'm gearing up to do my first training in person in November, and I haven't done a training in the last year. I was really focused on other things, and I'm collaborating with a sound healer. She's doing a 2-day sound healing training, and I'm doing
Oh,
a 2-day
cool.
levels 1 and 2. We're doing like 2 weekends together. We've just been fleshing out the details. So anyone that's
Anyone's
interested
in
in
Miami,
that,
Florida, listening,
yeah, and it's
or
like,
the surrounding areas.
yeah, or just wants to take a trip. And it's like you said, both of us, she's also Reiki certified. No, I don't believe in holy fire, but she also uses Reiki in her sessions. And we understand the power and impact of combining the two because it's so different. Even this morning, I was teaching Kundalini yoga this morning. I had a class, and at the end of every class in Shavasana, you play the gong. And the gong is different than sound bowls and what I'm used to. And I've only just started with the gong about the last like 2 months. and it was talking to me. It was telling me the symbols. It was showing me the chakras. And everyone in class after was like, wow, that Shavasana, like what was going on with the gong? That was insane. And I was like, oh,
I don't
I don't
know.
say I'm doing Reiki in class, but I can't help it because to me, they go together, that there is no separation between sound and Reiki healing for me.
Well, it's just like yeah, it's a transmission. So like you're sending, even if you didn't play the sound, the energy would probably just go to everyone if you're just sitting there or whatever.
Totally.
But I think the sound is a mechanism for, I feel like, people to experience it in their bodies.
Yeah.
Is very interesting. Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm like, that's gonna be my next thing. I'm gonna have a gong before I know it.
Yeah, no, they're very expensive. I need like a
They
gong
are.
sponsor. I need like a sponsorship for gongs. Uh,
Calling in all gong sponsors. We're ready
yeah.
to receive.
No, they're so cool. And it's a very different sound. All the sounds are different. If you go and you listen to drums or whatever, it's all gonna be a different frequency. But I think the Reiki allows it to almost go like deeper into
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, it penetrates into the cells. I mean, it's already doing that with the sound working into the cells, the bones, the crystal structures. If you're using crystal bowls, like each instrument goes to a different place. Like drums is much more heart and heartbeat. Um, but yeah, when we infuse it with the Reiki, it really amplifies the energy in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, it's super powerful. I feel very connected to more like the bells and the chimes and things like that too. But the bowls, I feel like I've been doing sound healing for a while, and more so in sessions, like at the end of a healing session, like 15-20 minutes, or do like an Instagram or a meditation. But then I started doing them at this yoga place and it's an hour. And I'm like, I need to build up my sound healing muscles because my arms are getting tired from like holding my arms like that. So it's like, but then once the energy opens up, it's like I feel like I am in that channel where I don't think about it as much. But like
Totally.
the first few minutes, I'm like, oh my God, my arms are really tired doing this. Like, how am I gonna do this for an hour? And then it's like time kind of transforms. And it's
Totally.
like, oh, now it's been an hour. Holy shit.
Yeah, like once
Really
you get like
fast.
through like those first 10 minutes, it's like, oh, wait, I could do this forever. This morning with the gong, like my first few times, I'm like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, my arm's so tired. And the mallet's, relatively heavy. And today I had a longer Shavasana and like we're at minute 10 and I was like, oh, I don't even want to take them out. Like, let's keep going.
Yeah,
And you find a dance.
the channel takes over, makes it
Yeah.
easier. But yeah, I'm just curious, like your perception with working with me for so long, like I would say just if you could tell people like that kind of difference, because I feel like there's a big difference in my energy since when we met and now. I feel like I've always obviously been myself, but um I'm just curious.
Yeah. You've always been you. That's for sure. Like I've
I'm not
always
like a
seen
particularly
people.
shy person, but I feel
Yeah.
like I was more closed.
Totally. I feel like I've always, because of the work we're doing and the work and the gifts that I have and you have, I've always been able to see you. So to me, like who you are now is who I've always seen and who I saw you having the ability to blossom into if you so chose to continue to walk your path. And, looking back, what is this, 6 years ago? I remember you were so outside of your body. And I think so many of us start there, like really outside of our bodies, really feeling uncomfortable in our physical body and not feeling safe. And we have similar backgrounds in terms of drugs and alcohol and food and kind of addiction, if we were to just qualify it as that. the really like dysregulated nervous systems is what it comes
Chaotic
down
energy.
to. It's like my nervous
Yeah.
system is so dysregulated, I'm just going to leave my physical body. And now I see you as such like a grounded holder of space, as someone who, you know, I've sent many clients to you. I have so much faith and trust with you in holding space, like for me as well. And it's just been such a beautiful shift. I've seen you move from one home to another as well. Like I've seen you physically move. I watch your stories like every day. So I'm always seeing you showing up for the work. And I think that's one of the most powerful things is that I see about you is you're always showing up for the work. And I know that that's something people reflect back to me often, like, oh, Lauren's always doing the work. She always shows up for that. And it's like, well, what else would I do? And I see that within you as well. It's like you always show up and you don't shy away from the things. It may take you a little while to share about it, but I also think that's the integration. And with that, like I've seen you own your spiritual gifts, not just I'm a Reiki healer, but I'm a medium, and
Yeah.
hosting mediumship circles and groups and programs, and seeing you going from how do I make a career of this? Like, is it possible to make a career of this, to hosting? I don't even know how many people you've trained in Reiki, let alone how many people you have held space for to open up their spiritual gifts. It's so beautiful to have seen you blossom from, you know, it's the lotus. Like we rise from the mud and we open up, and I've really gotten to see you open up and flourish over these last 6 years. And I don't get to see that with every client. You know, some people, they come to me once and that's it. Others, you know, we're running the race together. And I feel like you're someone that I'm running this race with. Like we're just like, not that it's a race, but like, you know, we're just like in
No,
the real
we're
life,
running.
you know, we're just like passing the baton, doing
Trying.
the thing. And I think that's so beautiful. Like to when you have spiritual running mates. That's why I love the glow up community so much, because that's what it is to me. It's this community. Like we're all in it. We're all doing it together. Like let's keep moving forward. And I see you as someone that is such a leader. And you know, when you get on my calls, like our weekly calls, I'm like, yes, like Grace is here. I love when she's here also holding the space, because I know how foundational you are. So it continues to be an honor and privilege to get to hold space for you and your expansion, because I see you and I know how much you're offering to your collective and, you know, the community, both online as well as where you live.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you inspire me so much, and it's like I feel lucky. Makes me cry. But you know, that to get to meet you and stuff, and it's like I think sometimes it's easier to be able to find those people in your life and those expanders, teachers, leaders, like because of the internet. But it's also just soul energy. So it's like, you know, leads me in the right direction, being able to find the people that I can learn from. So it's like I trust that the people that come to me to for whatever classes or readings or whatever, it's like there's some guidance that brings them there. There's marketing. Yeah, I'm gonna show up on the internet, like that's how I'm gonna keep talking. But it's also like a channel, even just having the podcast. Like I feel like, you know I see the numbers, I see people listening, but that doesn't even matter so much as the frequency, the energy. So it's like just putting it out there, like even if people only listen to one episode or this one or whatever, please subscribe, like give me 5 stars, like please. But like it's more just about holding that energy, and I feel like that helps me process my mind so much too. Like there's energy, there's emotions, there's spirit, but then it's all the mind stuff that I feel like to have the space to talk helps me process a lot of like what I'm experiencing too. And I think that helps me explain, even though it's hard to explain what being a medium or whatever is like. And we're both, we experience it differently, I'm sure, similar in other ways, but to be able to explain that to people, I think is really important. Like to see you and Sloan and other people that I got to work with like early on in my mediumship experience, like see you guys talk about it so openly. Like it made me more comfortable to talk about it myself, but it also showed me, okay, that's possible for me. Like I can do that. And I would never say you're like a normal person, but you are a grounded individual. You have a life. You're not just like off into space all the time. You're doing your life and having experiences that are very human too. So I think that is very inspiring to see people who can channel whatever, your dead grandma and aliens and who knows, like, and then you're also being able to, okay, I'm gonna eat like dinner. Like I'm gonna just sit here and eat right now. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna stretch. I'm gonna like do all these human things. And I think it's really important to have space for that because I think a lot of what people see of mediumship or Reiki or whatever is very like separated from life. It's like I feel like some people they don't share as much. You don't need to share everything, but share as much of their life, and you just kind of see, okay, them being perfect and doing their healing, and then that's all you see. So I really admire that you put out your experiences of just your daily life, but then also things that you are also healing with. So yeah, like being able to, I think that it's important to be able to share those things because it is like a transmission. Like a lot of people will call that the keys or whatever. Like I have worked through this experience and now I can share that with you. So I always admire that you put that out there. Like even if other people in business might be like, you maybe you shouldn't share like everything about yourself. But
It's so
I think it brings clients.
yeah, it does because it's all about being authentic. And
Yeah.
I am very much who I am offline, online. But it's funny, I'm in the early stages of connecting with a man that I'm gonna be going on a date with, and he asked me if I was on social media. He asked me this morning, and immediately like I froze, and then all of a sudden Biggie vomited, and I was like, I gotta call you back because I was like, I had to go take care of my dog, and I was like, Biggie just reacted
How
for
you
me how
felt.
I felt because I was like, oh, like if like I'm happy to get to know you and let you get to know me, but like, oh, do I want to give it all to you? And then I laughed, and I called him back after he threw up. I was like, I am Lauren Courtney, like TikTok, Instagram. You'll find out everything about me. And it's funny, right? Like I'm so comfortable, like putting myself out there. And then this man who I want to get to know, I'm like, oh God, like he's gonna see me naked, like that kind of energy. Especially the conversations I've been having the last few days, which are talking about how I used to be a closet eater and a binge eater, and the relationship I've had with food and what I've moved through and overcome with a background as a holistic health coach and private chef, and doing all this work to heal like my root traumas. And I was like, oh God, we're going out to dinner Monday. Like, oh God, like this is so awkward. He's gonna see me talking about my relationship with food. But it is what it is. And I think that's also so beautiful when people can see you and you can allow yourself to be seen as your most authentic self, both personally and professionally. And I know that it's a part of my gene keys, it's a part of my human design to act in the way that I do, because that's how I'm here to lead and teach and share.
Yeah, and I think like I feel like there's some things where you do want to get to know people in a slower manner, like to not just be like, okay, well, I can literally know everything about this person. I don't know if people really want to, like in a dating sense, they might, maybe he won't even like look, he'll be like, oh, I see if you guys post, but I don't know if he'll sit through and read all your posts.
I don't know if he'll read all of them, but he definitely gave me a follow. And it turns out through that, I saw we had a mutual friend, but they're not actually a friend. My dog Biggie has litter mates, and his best friends have one of Biggie's sisters.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, really, really weird,
Small,
really weird
small world.
synchronicity here in Miami, Florida.
That's so interesting.
I'll have
Yeah,
to
do
let
you
him know.
find that it's like apart from internet presence, like do you find it's more difficult for people to like understand like being a medium and healer in terms of like dating and relationships?
I feel like I have I haven't really had any issues with it. I've also taken time away from dating for a period of time, and I'm like re-entering it over the last few months because I needed to learn how to love myself on the deepest levels so I wouldn't be affected by what someone else would think about what I do. And also, so I would attract someone who, may not be a healer and in the spiritual space, because I don't necessarily, that's not necessarily what I desire. With that, they're spiritual in their own way. So what I do, it makes sense maybe in a science way. Like I talk about it more spiritual and they can see the science in it. So yeah, I mean, I haven't had a problem with it at this point. Stay tuned, right?
I'm just curious. I feel like I think mediumship, I don't know about dating because I have not been dating anyone, but we'll get there eventually. But like, I do feel like mediumship people are skeptical of it and more judgmental. But I feel like that's also kind of something that it is important to work through on that personal level so that it isn't affecting you. Like I'm sure there's a million people who don't believe or trust in what I do, but like that doesn't so much bother me. But it definitely used to. I think also that some people's perceptions of it being like dark or evil or like whatever, that was something that I had to work through a lot because that made me question like what am I doing? Even though that never felt true to me, but I feel like sometimes those kinds of perceptions can leak into your mind.
For sure. And I think those are like our own fears being reflected back to us to see if we're ready to release those fears and continue to step into what we know our truth to be.
Yeah, I see that very much. And I think like, yeah, it's like if you're worried about what people think about you, like you're probably gonna have experiences of judgment in
For sure.
order to let yourself kind of be free of those perceptions.
Yeah, it's the law of attraction. Like we attract the good just as we attract the judgment, the bad, whatever we want to call it. So we create our reality with our thoughts. So if you're afraid of your gifts, like you're going to be shown the darker, more fearful side. Like I've embraced my gifts. To me, as you know, I don't work full time as a medium. I don't really advertise as a medium. It's not what calls to me. With that, my mediumship is a place and space for me to play. I always compare it to Clue or Guess Who or Blue's Clues. Like it's like, okay, like we're playing with spirit and we're getting to connect. And to me, it's getting to experience love outside of myself, whether it be from my angels, guides, or loved ones. It's a deep feeling of love. And I feel like the more that I've learned to love myself, the easier it is to feel them connecting and right now, being in the eclipse season that's starting, I feel the veil is so thin and spirit is really around. I've felt my grandparents so strongly the last few days. This morning I woke up and um felt one of my mother's friends who crossed over connecting with me, giving me a message that was really sweet. And to me, like, why turn that off? Like, I want to amplify it. And I understand it's not for everyone, and I don't need to, talk about it on a first date per se. With that, this is who I am, and it's not going anywhere. And it's a part of my charm, is how I think of it. I think it's part of my charm. Like this man said to me, "I like that you're an edgy Jew," and I was like, "Yeah, I would put myself in that category. I've never thought about it that way, but yeah, I'm an edgy Jew. I've got tattoos and I talk to dead people."
That's so funny. Yeah, I think I think there's a point where you can't compartmentalize yourself anymore. Like if you want to be in that authenticity, like you can't be like, okay, well, I'm gonna be with someone who doesn't accept that. You don't like have to do readings for them every day, but like it's gonna happen. It's gonna be around. Like the spirits will come.
Yeah, like if you want it, like I'm here. And if you don't, like that's cool too, as long as like you're cool with me being me and you're authentically you. Like that's all I look for in a partnership. Like, can we meet each other where we're both at? Like, you don't have to sit down for a reading, you don't have to pull tarot cards, and you may also like connect with spirit in another way. Like whatever that looks like for you, great.
Oh, I'm excited for you. We'll see what happens.
It happens. The journey. As I'm hearing, don't stop believing,
Oh,
like you
that's
just gotta,
cute.
we're on the journey. And I think that's what's so beautiful. And the more attuned we are to our authenticity, my belief is the more we're going to bring in those, whether it be a romantic relationship or a partnership in business or the right book deal and agent or the right, whatever it is, like it's all available to us if we're sitting in our truth.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we want opportunities, but we're not willing to like go out there and receive them. So,
For sure. I was saying to you before we started the podcast, like I had an intuitive hit to reach out to someone I knew 10 years ago when I was a chef who's big in the fitness industry now. He works with very high-end clientele, and my intuition was like, reach out to him. He studied Kundalini back in the day. Like there's something for you here. And immediately I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ignore it. And I sent him a message. He was like, I'll be in New York next month. Are you in New York? Let's get together and talk. And we happen to have overlapping days. So it's like we have to be willing to put ourselves out there, whether it be in business, in relationships, in all areas. We can sit and manifest, right? But that's kind of sitting outside of the body still. It's, you have to come into the body and take action. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get lost. Like they forget to come back to the body. And I think there's so much importance of first being in that spiritual place and playing with spirit all the time and going on that journey, because that's when we're learning. And then it's like, okay, now that you've learned all of this, what are you going to do with it?
yeah, that's like the hardest part.
Yeah. The embodiment.
I
Yeah.
know you guys are listening to a million podcasts out there, just learning, learning, learning. What are you gonna do next?
Yeah. Like, great. You have your journal, but like, what are you doing with it? Are you taking action on your life? Or are you just sitting here like, I'm calling in my this, and this, like I'm calling in a 6-figure book deal. Well, sweetie, are you writing the fucking book? Like, you're not going to get a book deal until you start writing the book, whatever it is. Um,
It's
you
the
got to take
energy.
action. Yeah.
You gotta put the energy into action, into
Yeah.
motion.
Into motion, right? Emotion, energy,
Yes.
emotion.
Well, I would love to pull a card with you before we close out, but I'm curious. I know you well, last time you were on the podcast, you were doing a different Kundalini program, which was online. Then you did a whole, was it a year? The
It
program you
was
just
7,
finished?
like 8 months essentially.
Yeah, you did an in-person Kundalini yoga teacher training. So I'd love for you to just tell people briefly about that experience, but also if people want to go to your class, you're teaching in person.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I did the training online. That was, gosh, like it's well over a year ago at this point. And when I did my training online, I didn't feel like it gave me what I needed. And I didn't quite understand what that meant. I knew I was supposed to do it at the time, but it didn't give me what I needed. And what I realized through taking the training in person is I was seeking deeper embodiment. And the practices, it was like Kundalini light almost, because they had changed a lot of the programming. It wasn't the traditional KRI, which is the Kundalini Research Institute. They changed a lot. And I understand, if you research Kundalini, there was a lot with the Yogi Bhajan who
Yogi
brought it
Bhajan.
here. And listen, there's a lot of,
Every lineage, there's something.
yeah, there's something in every lineage, and we have an opportunity to choose to take what we want from it and move on. And so the first training wasn't connected with KRI, Kundalini Research, and Yogi Bhajan. They decided to do something different. And I could feel the difference because when I started going to this studio that opened in Miami, which is called Fresh Prana, I just felt it, like the connection I had felt 10 years ago when I started taking Kundalini in New York City. And then 3 or 4 weeks into my finding this studio, I found out that they had an upcoming teacher training for January. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm doing it again in person. And I got my books a few months later, and the training I had done online, it was like random books, like get this Kundalini book, get this Kundalini book, get this Kundalini book. But when I signed up for the training I did this year, it was manuals. It was the manuals from the
Textbooks.
school, similar, like, if we're doing Reiki training, it's, the Reiki Institute. So you get the manuals, and for me, it's like I'm receiving a transmission when I hold the books, like first and foremost. So when I got those books, it was like, oh, this is why I needed to do it. This is different. And it took place over 8 months. We had in-person weekends, long 3-day weekends, once or twice a month. One day a month, we would also meet online. We had to take, I think it was 20 classes, but I did well over 20 classes. We had to practice a certain amount of sadhanas, which is a 4:30 a.m. practice for 3 hours.
So
Um,
intense.
it's intense. And then of course, like we had a written final, and we had to do a practicum class. And I was seeking this on such a deep level, and it was really the final stages of working through work I started 2 years ago when I was working with a former mentor doing body work. I was really working on opening up my heart and learning how to love again, and learning how to love me first and foremost, because I had a very flourished, like my business was flourishing. I was thriving. I was doing amazing. And there was still something that felt disconnected inside of me. And my body was starting to physically show me that. So I went on a journey to really learn to love myself, without judgment, freely, just every part of me. And through the training, I broke down some major walls that were ready to be just like busted through. And like the way that I love me now is so different than the way that I loved myself before. Like I've always loved me, but there were still habits that I had that were showing me that maybe I don't love myself fully. And, it's those secret habits that we don't share, we don't talk about, like, like I talked about yesterday on social media, the closet eating and the binge eating. And, when I would start smoking weed again, it was never just like, I'm going to do it once. It was like, I'm going to do it once every day for a week and then have to like take a break again. And that's not who I wanted to be. And that was after being sober for 5 years. And I was like, well, sobriety only gave me more rigidity.
Yeah.
And through learning to love myself, that's what I truly needed to find balance and order and the ability to really own all parts of me.
I'm so happy
So
for you.
thank you.
I, yeah, I think it's a lot of times we, yeah, hold those things to ourselves. So I
Yeah.
think even just being able to share about them openly, like that heals a lot of people. Like just being able to hear that, okay, they're not alone, whether it's an eating disorder or addiction or any other, it could be many things, can be a weird secret addiction. It doesn't have to be like drugs or food or alcohol. There can be many behaviors that people can get into. So being willing to get help when you need it, but also being that for yourself, being able to
Yeah.
discover that for yourself.
I'm like, just realize, the thing I realized the most about all of it, like all of the habits that I chose and would really like participate in, it was during my Kundalini training. I had this aha moment that like I went from the pacifier to a joint, like obviously not that quickly, but it was like the pacifier relaxed my nervous system as it does most kids, right? We have a pacifier, calm the baby down. Okay. Then it was like all these other things throughout my life became the pacifier. And was that because I was diagnosed with ADD and needed to take medicine? Was it because, there are so many things. And that's why, like, even at the beginning we said like it's all about regulating your nervous system. I was constantly trying to pacify myself instead of understanding that my nervous system needed to be rewired. So now I know it's, just like it was my purpose to talk about mediumship for so many years and make that comfortable and make that normal. Now I understand like the next part of my purpose is really helping people with regulating their nervous system and understanding why they're making the choices they're making in the first place. And if we're not willing, I always say like, if you're not willing to do it for yourself, how can you do it for others? It's what we heal within ourselves, we can then hand the keys over to someone else by showing them like, hey, I did this and now I can hold space for you to do the same thing, or simply like feel the vibration and take it with you.
Yeah, that transmission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and if people are in Miami, you can take your class in
Yeah, I
person.
teach every Friday right now at Fresh Prana at 9:15 a.m. And come the fall, I'm sure I'll have some other things coming up, but I do have some travel coming. So that's when you could catch me for now.
Yeah, and you do lots of things online. Right now we're doing a year-long program, but we'll see what happens next year. And I'm sure there's many opportunities for people to connect, but they can find
Yeah.
you. I'll put your links in the show notes, or if you guys are watching on YouTube, in the comments. But do you want to pull a card for us listening before you go?
Absolutely. And actually, as you say that, something I've been thinking about is, will the glow up continue next year? Because I've had a few
Yes.
viewers recently ask me, and a few I know really want to
But it's
continue.
also like what you need, as a teacher too. Do you want to
Yeah.
do that? Like
Well,
I would be sad if it ends, but
I
like I
actually
understand it
do.
too.
I actually do want to continue it. So if anyone wants to find out more about the weekly program, send me a DM that simply says glow up and I'll put you on the wait list for next year, because I don't believe I'll open the doors again. Maybe if you message me, I'll open them up for December and you'll get a bonus month. But yeah, we're gonna come back for
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah, we do. So every week we do something different. We'll do readings, you do coaching, we do Reiki. We've done yoga. We do every week is different.
Yoga, body
So,
of light.
and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I've met a lot of amazing people, and it's just I think it's important to have some kind of touchstone for yourself. So whatever that is, that's a weekly habit, like of connecting with people. I think it's a good structure.
Yeah, there's something special again, right, about having those spiritual running mates and being reminded, like, I'm not on this journey alone. And, on those weeks where like I'm having an off week and sending a message, is anyone else like feeling the energy shift this week and knowing you're not alone. All right, let's see what message wants to come through. Okay, so we have the condor. And the
Mm.
condor's message is hold the highest vision for your life. You now possess the ability to move past any hurdles. And I have to pull this one because the
Ooh,
peacock
the
feather was
peacock.
right underneath. Inherent wisdom is emerging at this time. Watch it and ready yourself for rebirth. And I pulled one card also from another deck that said pay attention, that really aligns with the peacock. Notice repetitious signs and your inner guidance as it can yield valuable information. So, it's coming up through that is we're in a big time of transition. And of course, we're entering into eclipse season, and we have like the election coming up. I don't get too political, but nonetheless, like the
It's a
world is
change.
shifting in
Big
really big
change.
ways, like our consciousness, the collective, and it's up to us to allow those changes to happen, whether it be the changes in the world. It all starts within you and making a choice to pay attention, to follow the signs, to listen, and to honor your innate wisdom. Because, like I say all the time, like, you are your own guru. We've seen so many gurus fall, and it's because they were meant to be where they were at that time. And now we're in a new time and space. So the old
We're
paradigm had
yeah,
to
the
shift.
Aquarius now.
Yeah,
We are our
exactly.
own.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm hearing this song. You've got the music in you. Don't give up. You've got the
Oh, that's
music
cute.
in you. And they were saying it though, like you've got the magic in you.
But I love that. Yeah, I love when you sing.
I will
That's
I will let myself receive that.
yes. Oh, that's cute. Well, and it's interesting to me that the peacock would come up too, because I that was like one of the first symbols that I got into reading with you. And I'm sure you would remember this story if I told it, but briefly, like you pulled I don't remember what we were doing the reading about, but you pulled cards for me, and one of the cards that came up was a peacock. And then later that day I like went on this hike, like in the middle of the fucking woods, like nowhere like that a peacock would be. There was two peacock no, it was a big peacock and two baby peacocks just walking in the middle of the
I
trail.
do remember that.
Because that
Oh,
was just like so crazy. But I feel like that was kind of a big symbol for me in the beginning. And I think the peacock, yeah, symbolizes so much of being able to put yourself out there and show show your whole self. And there's a lot of interesting symbolism with that.
yeah, all the third eyes, and also the ability to close yourself off when you need to. Like I was doing a session here in my space the other day, and after the session, we did a body of light, so I was super lit up from the body of light, and I needed to take Biggie for a walk, and I got to my front door, and I was about to open, and I was like, I need to zip myself up. Like I'm too open, like I'm too peacocky right now. And I like went down to my feet and just like pulled a zipper over myself. And I haven't done that like in a long time. And I was like, I need to do that more. I need to just like be able to like turn it off and turn it on a little bit more with ease. And so it's of course the peacock is showing itself today.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share? Any big dreams you have? you want to put into the world?
Well, you know that I've been working on my book, so that is really the next focus for me, what that's going to look like. So we'll see how things to continue to proceed as I finish my final edits and where my book ends up, and hopefully it's in all of your hands within the next 6 to
Well,
8
yeah,
months,
you'll come back
ideally.
when the book comes out. You can promote the book.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really my focus, continuing to do that, continuing to share Kundalini yoga, um, and make it accessible for more people. I think a lot of people have misconceptions because it's so much mantra, and it's a beautiful practice, and I actually infuse it with hip hop and Rufus Du Soul, and the music that speaks to me. And I think that's where I'm at, just having fun playing with the tools in a new way, and continuing to share from an authentic place what my soul is guiding me to express at this point in my journey.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think anything, it's like we can again learn all these things, but being able to bring them together and make it uniquely yours, I think is the most helpful way for us to actually process that information.
Yeah, for sure, the embodiment.
Hmm. Well, thank you for being on the show. We will link all your stuff. You started your own podcast, so if people want to go back and listen. Portals
Yeah, check
podcast.
out Portals, and I'm starting a weekly Instagram series, real conversations with real people. So hopefully you'll be a
I
guest.
saw that email.
Um,
I will come. I'll
yeah.
email you back.
So I've started that, which just like a place to have some real conversations. And I'm sure somehow it will turn into like a second podcast. Like, why don't I give myself
Well, you can
another?
always upload them
Yeah,
out
exactly.
or whatever if
Yeah.
people are not on Instagram. But yeah, Instagram, we'll put all your things so people can find you.
Well, thank you for having me once again. I love you. I'm so
I
proud
love
of
you.
you. And
Thank you.
it's just an honor to witness you and your growth and all that you bring into this world.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we will see you guys next week. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day. Bye.